Welcome back, guys. Again, in the spirit of Melchizedek with peace and righteousness and holiness, I want to go ahead and talk about the subject matter today of basically things being decided spiritually before they are decided physically. And there's a couple different areas I want to talk about in our lives that we can recognize this in. So the first one is moral struggle. This could be, people cutting you off in traffic. This could be stuff at work. This could be stuff at home. Okay? Every single battle that we have spiritually is always decided in the spiritual before it is reflected in the physical. Because think about it. If you let your anger with something, for example, if you let your anger overflow spiritually, it's going to overflow physically. Similarly, if you have made a good decision in your heart of forgiveness, that is going to be also reflected physically, but it is always decided spiritually first. Like take health, for example. People, if they decide that, okay, hey, I want to consciously make better decisions regarding my health, whether that be food or going to the gym, they make that decision in their mind before they have any physical results. Next is love. Love is always decided in the heart first before it's reflected in the physical. For example, people who decide to go ahead and get married in the way that God ordains it, which is a lot different from what society expects of us today or teaches us today, both people make a decision in their heart. For one thing, they have to love God first. Next, they choose to wake up every single day and love that person. It's choice. It's not obligation. It's not force. It's choice. That's what love is. And that choice is always decided every single day before you wake up in your own heart and your own soul. Same with happiness. When it comes to happiness, we have a lot of different choices, right? We can choose to be happy. We can choose to be sad. We can, choose to be mad. We can choose to be all these different things. But our happiness starts in the soul before it's reflected, again, physically. You choose how you respond, but that is always an internal choice before it's reflected physically. Next is wealth, and this is probably going to be a little bit different. But with wealth, talking about that, people think of house, cars, money, all this material thing. And this is where I want to kind of bring Jesus in to tie everything up together. In the Bible, it talks about, and this is in the New Testament, obviously, but it talks about assuming that you already have possession of what you prayed for. Act as if it's already been given to you. That's because what Jesus is talking about here is he's talking about this assumption that as long as the desires of your heart are pure, as long as your soul is pure of spirit, and you're not wanting, you're not wanting something that's away from God's will. You're asking for something with the pure desire of your heart. Live your life as if you already have it. See, that's what he's talking about here, because that's a reflection of you already accepting God's gift to you spiritually, and then eventually that is physically reflected. Now that's not to just say I want a Corvette, so I'm just gonna live like I already have it, and then it's gonna be in my garage the next morning. No, it's not like that. What it is it's assuming that the desires of your heart are pure. So every single day you're gonna live eventually it's going to happen, because God wants to give us the desires of our hearts as long as they're pure. So as long as you listen to him in his guidance of your everyday life, eventually you're going to be put on a path that will lead to that physical reflection of whatever it is you wanted, like in this example, like a Corvette, right? But what the main point is that I have to drive home here is that with our lives, we must keep check of our internal spirit, because our internal spirit will decide what comes on the outside. What goes in must come out, right? So if all you're thinking of is bad things and sad things and all that stuff, it's going to reflect sad and bad on the outside. However, if you go ahead and decide, hey, I am already happy, I already have everything that I need. Sure, I would like to have this because it'll make me happy in this way, and that'll grow my relationship with the Lord or whatever. Then essentially just act as if you already have it, and somewhere along the way, as long as you follow God's path, it will come to you. And this goes for everything: moral struggles, health, love, happiness, wealth. I don't think a lot of people talk about this because they want immediate results. They want this instant gratification. They want to treat God like a genie, which is even worse when you think about it, because the cultural genie is actually a Islamic form of jinn, which is spirits that are put into this bottle that if you release them, they're supposed to be servants to you, but like low-key, you're actually, that's actually like a demon. I don't know, maybe I'll do a video on that later, but it's kind of funny how the culture decides to go ahead and swap things around to make them not seem as bad. But what I'm trying to say is that God's not a genie. You're not going to pray to God and be like, hey, I want this, can you give it to me? No, that's not how it works. It has to be all within God's will. And the way that you listen to God's will is you sit in silence, you think, you observe the world around you, you think of what God actually wants for you. I don't think a lot of us sit down and think about that enough. We just think about what we want. Instead, what we should work on is kind of becoming an empty vessel of sorts, or maybe a symbol, and think of just what God would use in our lives. Because people have this shallow understanding. They think that if you go ahead and just want something, that it's self-centered, it's finding yourself, it's you doing you, it's self-love. Society has twisted all these different kind of phrasings. The real self-love is it's denying yourself and listening to God's voice all around you. When you put yourself aside and you think to yourself, what is God directing me to do? Today or in this moment. And then you look for ways to do that. You don't procrastinate. I saw a message in church today, and it basically said, you don't have to understand everything for you to obey immediately. If you feel like God is calling you a certain direction, take the step right away. Don't procrastinate, don't wait, don't question, don't try to reason with yourself of, okay, is this or is it that? Don't pray about it, because God will quite literally whack you over the head with a 2x4. If he has to. But as we mature spiritually, we find that as long as we genuinely listen to what he's showing us, people say, oh, God doesn't talk to me, God doesn't do this, God doesn't do that. To which I would say, sure, he doesn't communicate with you in the way that you think communication should work. That's why we have to lean on ourselves, or lean on not our understanding, but the understanding of God above. It's living your physical life in a spiritual manner, which is why I think, again, to the beginning of this video, you must decide everything spiritually before anything is reflected physically. And whatever is reflected physically is that spiritual decision. Now, that's not to say that somebody that's physically wealthy is spiritually wealthy. That'd be a misnomer. I guess what I'm just trying to say is think about winning things in the spiritual realm and seeing the results in the physical as it comes, because it's everything on the inside that matters. The exterior all around us, can be results of that, and hopefully they're good. But at the end of the day, it's all about what's on your inside, not what's on your outside. And I don't think enough people talk about that, which is kind of why I wanted to make this video today. So I know it's a little esoteric, it's a little weird concept, but I did want to go ahead and share just that short little thing today. And I hope this message finds you well, and I will see you guys in the next one.